You keep submitting, you keep getting rejected, but no one tells you why. Let me show you the number one reason papers don't make it past editorial review and exactly how to fix it. My name is Sam, and my purpose is to help you publish in top journals in your discipline and build a powerful citation track record and step up in your academic career. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video about top-tier journal publication and citations. I've helped over 12,000 faculty members step up in their academic careers, and today I'm going to share with you the exact same tips that I've shared with my mentees that make journals regret passing on your work the first time around. In my role as an associate editor of multiple journals and the editor-in-chief of a newly established journal, I see this happen over and over again. A vast majority of manuscripts that fail to make a positive impression and don't pass the editorial process are those that lack a clear problem statement. A great solution will follow a great problem statement, but a problem doesn't start with the solution. The problem exists before the solution is offered, and that's where the majority of researchers get it wrong. This is something I frequently observe with my mentees. When they submit manuscripts or request feedback on their work, we look at their manuscripts and ask, what's the problem you're solving? And typically the answer is, oh, I use such and such techniques, and we get back to them. Now, okay, hold on a second. That is the solution. First, tell me, what problem are you solving? There's a tremendous difference between a solution and a problem, but the majority of researchers I've worked with begin with the solution. You must first identify the problem before offering a solution. Only then does it make sense to the editors and the reviewers. When positioning your paper, you must pay close attention to how you frame the problem statement. Let's break it down. The problem statement comes in 3 stages, and most researchers miss one or more of them. Think of it like an inverted pyramid. It starts from the bigger picture and narrows in. If this is the part you usually get stuck on, just comment problem below and I'll send you a full guide to help you get this right, clearly, simply, and in a way that speaks directly to reviewers. Now, back to the 3 stages. Stage 1, what problem are you solving? When you talk about the problem, be specific. Use negatively balanced words and talk about the problem, not the solution. Here you want to talk high level. Remember, writing an article is a completely different thing from writing a textbook. When you're writing a textbook, the playground is wide open. You're writing for a much larger audience, and the page limit is typically not a concern. Your audience can be literally anyone at any stage of their research journey. Well, when you're writing a paper, you're speaking to the expert community who are already immersed in your research domain and understand it deeply. You must begin where they left the conversation, not give a full global overview. The bigger picture is important, but you need to narrow it down to a certain starting point that is relevant to the readership. Let me give you an example. If you're proposing a new device for the timely detection of a dangerous infectious disease, you don't need to start with the history of infectious diseases and how they've been killing many around the globe. That's irrelevant. Experts already know that. Instead, start with the impact of timely diagnosis on patient care and recovery. Another example, if you're talking about the digital divide during the COVID-19 pandemic, don't go back to the history of poverty and social inequality. Start with how the digital divide specifically impacted education at different layers of its construct. Set the context, but don't go too wide. Remember, your readers already know the field, they have studied the background, and they are fully aware of it. It's an ongoing conversation, so don't bore them. Speak with relevance and confidence. Step 2 of the inverted pyramid. Why does this specific problem have to be solved now? Now let's talk about the use of negatively charged language. This is a powerful strategy that helps you position your article. It's essential to convey that you're addressing a real and pressing problem. This isn't about being dramatic, it's about clarity. Using high-impact language, words like irreversible, loss, or critical alert the readers, and specifically the reviewers, that the issue at hand is not trivial. They help frame your research as timely, necessary, and worthy of attention. In other words, strategically employing such language gives much strength to your problem statement and justifies the significance of your study. After clearly stating the problem, explain why this problem must be resolved now. And remember, not every problem in science requires immediate action. So, why is yours different? Why is your research urgent? Why is the dialogue around this issue important at this point in time? Make that crystal clear to the reviewers. Then go a little bit deeper into the justification. And that's where many researchers drop the ball, the third layer of the pyramid. What happens if the problem isn't resolved now? You must clearly show the cost of inaction. So here is all about the cost. If the issue is the late diagnosis of a disease, what happens if we don't fix it right now? Maybe thousands die unnecessarily, maybe the disease spreads across countries due to globalization, maybe irreversible damage happens in the untreated patients. Now you're ready to offer a solution. That's a prescription solution, not a vitamin solution. What's the difference between the two? The prescription solution is something that's necessary. It's crucial, it's important. Imagine a patient, someone in critical conditions, goes to see a doctor because they've had an accident or they're in horrible pain, they're bleeding, and the situation is really, really bad. They go to see a doctor and they want an immediate solution. You want to position your paper through the problem statement to be a prescription solution, not a vitamin solution. Because vitamins are nice, good to have. We all need vitamins, but they are supplementary. They're not a necessity. Without vitamins, we're not gonna die. If you don't follow these 3 stages, the first impression the reviewers will have is that this work is just an unnecessary luxury that was conducted just because the authors had infrastructure, access to the facilities, and the time to do this. And that categorizes your research as a vitamin solution instead of a prescription solution. You don't want to be in that category. You want to show that you've used the talent, the resources of your institution, the infrastructure, and most importantly, have taken the time of the reviewers and the editors to address a serious problem. One of my mentees rewrote just the problem statement using this framework. The same paper that was previously desk rejected was accepted by a Q1 journal within 8 weeks. That's the kind of shift we want to create. Now, what about review articles? The exact same framework also applies to the review papers with a slightly different structure. In a review article, the problem is always a gap in knowledge. You're not doing new experiments. You're not collecting new data. You're synthesizing literature to show where knowledge is missing. So here, in the first layer of the pyramid, what is the gap? What's the gap in knowledge? Why must this gap be filled now? What are the consequences of not closing the gap and staying ignorant about it? For example, if your review article focuses on mathematics teachers' conversational skills impact on students' mathematical understanding, the problem is that this connection has not been properly studied or synthesized. Why now? Because the students are in a critical phase of developing both foundational knowledge and personal agency. The support they receive during this time is vital, and chances are that the teachers are increasingly experiencing a decline in confidence, followed by feeling of frustration, burnout, and professional disengagement due to this exact same problem they are experiencing. What's the cost of inaction, or what happens if you don't act now? The erosion of self-efficacy in teachers not only affects their well-being, but also limits their capacity to create effective learning environment and ultimately compromises the quality of education students receive. Now, think about it. Do we really want to compromise the quality of education? Is it a problem that can be taken lightly? No, absolutely not. You see the power of positioning? If you do a really good job at the problem statement level, I guarantee your paper will make a hugely different impression. It will be reviewed with urgency, with respect, because it will be clear that you are solving a serious issue. In every article you write, start with a clear, specific, and urgent problem statement. Show why it matters. Show why it has to be solved now and what happens if we ignore it. Use negatively charged language to frame the problem and don't jump to the solution before making reviewers and editors clear about the problem you solve. Problem statements aren't just introductions, they are positioning tools. They frame your work as either optional or essential, and most researchers never learn to do this properly. If you want to work on your problem statement right now, comment problem in the comment section below and I'll send you a full guide. But if you're ready to step up, to build a complete strategy for getting published in top journals and building a visible research career, then book a free strategy call with me. I dropped a link in the description of this video and I look forward to meeting you.